Well, hello and welcome to the WordPress Melbourne Meetup. How many of you guys have never been to one of these before? Awesome. How many of you guys have never used WordPress before? Equally awesome. Well, welcome. We have these meetups once a month where we get together and talk about WordPress. This time and every other month we do a user meetup, and then next month it'll be a developer meetup for some where the hardcore nerdy people go to hang out. But we're glad you're here. So thanks for coming. Awesome. We've got a couple of really cool speakers lined up for you tonight, but before we get into that, let's have a look at what's news. And let's check in, spread the word, check in on Twitter, and our hashtag is WP Melbourne, WP Melb. So if you're hearing interesting things while Amelia and Dihan are speaking, then tweet the heck out of it, share the love, and then check in on Meetup if you want to do that too. That'd be cool. We'd like to thank our pizza sponsors. Envato send us money for pizza every month, which is awesome. We'd like to thank them very much. They run a bunch of sites which you may or may not be familiar, things like Theme Forest, Code Canyon, Graphic River, Toots Plus. They're based in Melbourne. They love WordPress like we do, and they love giving us pizza, so we're pretty grateful for that. Thanks, Envato. Woohoo! We also like to thank Inspire 9. They let us come here and hang out, and it's a really cool place if you're working for yourself and you're working from home and you like to spend a little bit of time with other people. You can actually come in and hang out and use one of their drop-in desks for free. So there's a few of us that will come down every now and again and just hang out, talk WordPress, talk code, talk anything, and then go across for coffee or drinks afterwards. It's always a good time. So if you want to check them out, send them an email to hello@inspire9.com. Here's some news. How many of you guys know what a WordCamp is? Anybody who doesn't know what a WordCamp is? So a WordCamp is a conference that's, I guess, a little bit like this, but it runs for a whole weekend. And we had our WordCamp Melbourne here in Melbourne in April. And all of the sessions that were delivered at that event have been put up on WordPress TV. So there's a link there. We'll put a link up in the Meetup page so that you can get hold of it. But you can watch any of our speakers from WordCamp Melbourne and learn more about WordPress in the comfort of your own home on your own computer. And in actual fact, a bunch of the guys who are from this group were speaking. And even Amelia, who's here tonight, was talking some gnarly code stuff when she was talking about Git. So, WordPress 10 on 27th of May. How many of you guys came out to celebrate? I was in Auckland. You want to know how many people came to celebrate in Auckland? God bless the Aucklanders. We had 2 from Auckland, 1 from Sydney, 1 from Melbourne, 1 from Christchurch, and 1 from Wellington. Way to go, Auckland. And the person organising it was me from Melbourne, so go figure. Got to love those Kiwis. It was a wet and revolting night. You guys are doing a good job of turning out on such an occasion. But yeah, New Zealanders didn't do... We had a great time. It was an awesome night, but it was very small. And Beta 3 of WordPress 3.6 has been released. That may or may not mean anything to you. The current version that we're using of WordPress is 3.5. And soon, though we're not quite sure when, 3.6 will be completed and delivered, and then we'll be able to mess around with that, which is pretty cool. And if you Google it, you can actually download and play with the beta version. You'll be able to find a copy and have a play with it and install it locally if you want to, but don't install it in a development environment at this point. Alrighty. So we have 2 presentations tonight. Who's up first? Is it? Oh, Dihan's going to speak to us first. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dihan. I would try and pronounce his surname, but that would be a mistake. So I'll let Dihan introduce himself to you and tell you a little bit more about what he does, because he knows more about that than I do. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. We've got a timer.
Alrighty. Where is it?
So
That's it
don't
there.
go over.
You've got a timer. Oh, you've got your phone on. You want me to hold that for you?
No,
and
I can just
what, you're going to watch it there? Cool.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
you on wireless? Are these links live? Because I've got screenshots.
Yes, it's Wi-Fi.
Okay. Okay. Hello, thank you. Thank you for coming. So the title of this talk, I should have made a slide about that, is creating a business WordPress site from scratch by a complete newbie, someone with very little experience. I have had a little bit of experience in other content management systems like Drupal. Setting up one site before, but I set up this WordPress site in February of... Can you hear me? Sorry, am I... Okay, sorry. I'll project.
Yes, that might be good too.
2013. Is that? Can you hear me at the back?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I set up this site in February of 2013, and it's I'm Dihan Wijewickrama. My site is the Resilience Code. I have a background in social science and system science and chiropractic, and I write about how we can grow resilience by learning about how nature adapts. So I'll show you my site. You have to pardon me bending over because I couldn't get my remote to work. Okay. Yeah, it's a big deal having my picture on the front page. I've never really done anything like that before. So it's a WordPress site, and and I built it myself. So I'll just take you through the process. So, just a caveat that I'm not presenting this as anything even like a how-to guide. I just wanted to share my experience and maybe inspire some of you that you can do it too. Okay, so what have we got? So that's the site. That's the front page of the site. Thank you. And for those of you who want to grab a quick QR code with my details. Okay. Actually, I'll take it back a slide. All right. So my objective, just talk briefly about what I wanted when I created. Just talk about briefly what I wanted when I set up the site. I had 3 objectives. One is to create a platform where I can deliver unique content. The second was to develop my craft as a writer. And the third was to develop my pitch and my presentation. I've got a training program about this, so I wanted to create a platform to bring that out. Okay. Why WordPress? Because there are other options. Obviously, there's paid options like Squarespace, where you can pretty much create a site by just dragging and dropping, and it's a visual interface to create the look and feel of the site. You pay a monthly fee for that. That was the other part of my thing is I was creating a site for low cost. Yeah, so I self-hosted the site, which means that I bought hosting from a third party and installed WordPress myself. And this is the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com. With WordPress.com, it's all done for you. You can go and you can create a blog on WordPress.com. You can buy. I think you can buy your own domain name and do that. Yep. It's all the site maintenance is done for you. If you buy hosting, you can install anything on that hosting. You could install your own static HTML files for your own website. You could install any web content management system. So I chose to go self-hosting, and the reason I did that is because I wanted more creative control. If you go for a site, if you use a service like WordPress.com, there are limits on what you can do in terms of the themes, the look and feel of the site, the customization, and the plugins. And I'll talk about the plugins and functionality a little bit further. So I chose to go the self-hosting route. The next step was thinking about my site design. What's the look and feel of the site? And there were two considerations that I had I wanted to create a platform, a site that I felt comfortable to play in. It's like a playground for me, and one that was attractive to users. So when I'm thinking about site design, not being trained formally in design, just being a visual person and knowing what appeals to me, I wanted to show you a couple of really, really successful sites just to get your head around that. And I think it's about being a self-starter in this domain, because we can always talk to other people, we can look at we can talk to designers, but it comes down to, as an entrepreneur or a self-starter, I want to make decisions myself as well. So this is Zen Habits. I think this is in the top 25 blogs in the world voted by Time magazine. And as you can see, it's just white space and black text. It's dead simple. It's immensely popular, this site, and it runs on WordPress too. So, it just showed me that simplicity can really work as well. And this is another one. This is a hell ugly site. It's the most popular personal development website on the net. I don't have statistics at hand, but it's the number one. And he's been running this website with this theme that he coded himself. I don't think it's WordPress, since 2004. So ugly sites can still be really immensely popular. Another source of inspiration for me I didn't use it for my current site, but how many have heard of the Webby Awards? Yeah, so, oh, sorry. Actually, I don't have a link for that. So you can just go to that site, webbyawards.com, and you can see every year since, I don't know, the last 10 years maybe, or less, they have a whole lot of categories of websites rated by experts and by the voting public for design and popularity. So it's a really good way to see what's current or what appeals to you and get design ideas. Okay, so plugins. Okay, now I'll talk about themes. So for my site, I went to the WordPress.org theme repository, which is where you can download, where you can browse and download themes that give you a particular look and feel of your site. So I got this from an outfit called D5 Creation. They have a free one and a paid plugin. I chose to go with the free because I'm on the budget trip this time around. And then I needed to modify it because I thought this is a good template for what I want to do, but then I needed to modify it. And I'm not trained in coding, so I'm working this out as I go, and I'm using the forums and working it out. So like this bar here, this black bar, they had this really awful perforated, it looked like those things that you see in men's sheds where they hang the tools off. It was hell ugly, and I just wanted it out. And I had to go and figure out how to go into the code, the back end of the code, and eliminate that. Anyway, these things take hours, and all just because of my just neuroses. I don't want that. Right? So it was a journey, and changing colours and things like that. Now, pointer here. There's a thing that I only learned after the fact, which is child themes. So you download a theme to your site and you play around with it, and you make modifications to the theme files, the style CSS sheet for those of you who get into this stuff. And but then the theme developers do an update, and you blithely download that to your site, and all your modifications are wiped. They're all gone, right? So WordPress has a workaround for that called child themes. So you copy certain of the files from the parent theme file. Am I going into too much detail? Is this okay? You copy some of those files into a child theme, and they're carried across regardless of updates. It's just worth knowing, yeah? So anyway, I learned that one the hard way. And there's a few things like that you learn that way. I guess that brings me to another kind of design consideration. It's like a real principle that I was using with this is what I call just good enough. I wanted to work with, I don't want to be a designer, I don't want to be a coder, I just want a site which I feel comfortable to play in, and then I'm happy with it, and then once I'm happy with it, it's got a minimum kind of degree of functionality, then I'm happy to go and pay someone to go and do the work if it's needed to, but I needed to do this exploration. This is just the way I work, I needed to do this for myself, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, enough about that. yeah. So plugins, all right. So that's theme. So plugins is the next aspect of it. So what plugins do, and again, what they do is they allow you functionality for your website, little things that can extend how your website works, how end users experience it, and the things that you're able to do with it. And again, WordPress, when you have a self-hosted WordPress site, you can install plugins, and when you have a site that's on WordPress.com, you don't get the option to have plugins. I think unless you pay a large amount of money for their VIP program. So I'll give you an example of a plugin, and what this one does. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what this does is, this is my printer plugin that I have on my posts on my blog, and it just gives me a nice graphical interface, and I can choose a nice little print button, and there's also some options to customize that. So that's the function. Or you get that, where you have to go into the back end. This is, if you don't use a plugin, this is the kind of thing you have to face about having to code this and learn about this yourself. So that's the benefit of plugins for a person like me. So I just want to run through. I decided I didn't start my timer. I have no idea what time it is. How am I doing? How am I doing for time? You all right? Okay. Just pull me away when you're bored, all right? Okay, so I'll just go through the plugins that I'm using. There's only a few. Okay. Exclude pages from navigation. This was insane, this one. When I knew that people were going to visit my site, because I didn't list my site on Google while I was developing it, I wanted to put it out there so that I felt it was serious. I felt engaged with it, but I wasn't ready for Google to crawl it just yet, but it is now. Anyway, when I spoke with James and said I want to do this presentation, I thought I quickly have to do a maintenance page for my site like this, right? Because there's a whole lot of bits on my site, the links down the bottom that don't work yet, and I don't care about that. But I thought if people see that, right? So I wanted to put something up there, and so I did that. And I created this unique page on WordPress called Not Quite Ready Yet. But what happened was it stuck a link up here called Not Quite Ready Yet, and I didn't want that. And then I had to go to the forums to go, how do you get rid of that? Because I just want these links up here, home, about, blog, contact. And there's no simple way to do it that I found. The last article in the forums was like 2009 or 2010, I think. And this is the price you pay when you do things for yourself, right? And fortunately, there's a plugin called Exclude Pages from Navigation, which just puts its plugin, so you get a nice little checkbox, and you just click that box underneath the page, and it excludes it from the top menu. But I reckon it should be a core part of the functionality, because I think every user, any user in my position would want that. Anyway, so that's an example of a plugin that I... And the other thing, when I went to download the plugin, it said this is not tested with your version of WordPress, so I just had to take a punt on that one. It seems to have worked so far. Print friendly, that's the one that you've seen. Auto excerpt everywhere, and again, this is another one. So on my blog, if you go to my blog, gee, it's good to be able to do that. So you can see there's just excerpts of the articles rather than the whole blog post, because there's blog posts there that are 3,000 words long, and if I expect readers to scroll down to find the next article, wasn't appealing. So that's another plugin for the look and feel. Speed. You want Google rewards or ranks, so I've heard, sites better for page loading time. So I have a couple of plugins that help me with what's called caching. I don't want to really get into the technicality of it, but it helps to speed up how fast the site loads for users. And there's another service called Cloudflare, which is a distributed content delivery network. It's a free service that you can test out. I've had a few issues with it. I'm not using it at the moment, but that is what they do. My basic understanding, again, correct me if I'm wrong, is it distributes copies of your sites at servers throughout the world, and so if someone is browsing your site from Iceland, it looks for the closest server for that person. So it's a free service. It's worth checking out. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Security is really really critical. I want to tell you a brief story. I talked to James about this too. Actually, in April 2013, there were large distributed attacks against WordPress sites. Some sites were reporting up to 77 to 100,000 login attempts per day. What they were doing was they were cycling through generic usernames, administrator, admin, test, and then brute forcing, meaning just spewing out password combinations to try to hack into those users. So it's called a brute force attack. It's not very sophisticated apparently, but what was different about this was they were using what's called a botnet, 91,000 different IP addresses and computers distributed around the world. So it's really large-scale kind of hacking. And it was targeting sites like ours. So, I have 3 sites that I'm maintaining, and all of them were reporting that I have a plugin for security. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. And it reported that there had been these hacking attempts on it. Not high volume on my site, but it did happen. So that one was the login security solution, which detects if there are multiple login attempts. Robots try to log in really fast number of times, and it detects that and rebuffs them. The other one that I highly recommend is a backup software, backup solution. So to back up your entire site, I use Updraft. It's free, as all these plugins. And what that lets you do is it also has a service where it automatically sends the backups to your email, to Dropbox, or to Google Drive. So it's really quite a useful plugin, and it's well maintained. WordFence Security is another one. I'm not quite sure about the value of it. It is a virus checker, malware checker. It compares the files that you've got in your WordPress installation to what's in the repository, so it's got some value there as well. Site monitoring, now this is cool. I maintain 3 WordPress sites at the moment, 2 for friends of mine, and so it was getting a bit tedious to go and check all those different sites. And what wpremote.com does is it has an API which is, it gives you a code. It doesn't require your login details, so you're not sharing that stuff out there. You insert that as a plugin, the code into the WP Remote plugin on WordPress, and then it monitors your site. And you just visit this site under your account name, and it gives you a green a snapshot. So those are my 3 sites, and it tells me all's good, they're up. And it also looks at the plugins and the themes and all the site files, and it tells me if there's any updates, and I can just update with 1 click. And it's a free service, it's quite cool. And the other one I use is monitor.us, and that texts me messages via Gmail, so it goes to my phone as well if my site's down. So that's another, and it monitors site performance, page load times, and stuff like that. So that's quite a useful tool. Okay, that's pretty comfortable. I think that's pretty much. Oh yes, okay. So little story. This is the second. That was the resilience code is the second iteration of my site. The first one I was just testing out. I'd never used WordPress before, and I'm creating it. And I had 50 plugins loaded because it was like I wanted to test everything, and it was working. And I was using W3 Total Cache, WP Super Cache. I was using all these caching plugins. I thought page speed, it's the way to go. And I just get carried away, right? Because you can do stuff. It's like you climb Mount Everest because it's there, so you just install 50 plugins because you can. And what happened though eventually was my site started to slow down, and I was sending distraught emails to developers around the world saying, "You've broken my site," but it's really my fault. And eventually I realised it's like I've achieved the goal that I wanted to achieve. I was testing that I could do the stuff, that the theme worked, that I could put my content on it. And so then I just deleted the entire site. I had my blog posts backed up. It was a difficult decision, but I go, you know what, I'm going to start from scratch. So this is the second iteration of the site, and that experimentation allowed me to then play a bit smarter. So the last thing I want to talk about is workflow. So I write my blog posts offline. I do. I'll give you an example. So I've just written a couple of long posts. So it takes me a while, and I draw diagrams. I use Illustrator and various other softwares, Wikipedia and vector drawing. And so, yeah, I really like being able to add pictures to explain ideas. Anyway, so I use one software called Byword, which is distraction-free writing, and it just gives me a black screen and just text, so I can focus on that. And the other tool that I use is called Mars Edit, and this is Mac, a Mac tool, which allows me to post to WordPress. So I can create the entire post. I can take it out of Byword, add all my pictures to it, and then sync it to my WordPress blog at the click of a button. And it also syncs all the pages and posts. So I found that a really quite useful tool. There's another one which is free at the moment called Pixel Punker. Hang on, I've got the links. And that's a Sydney developer. I've been talking to him. It's really cool as well. Mars is it's been around longer, and the developers really, really friendly, really supportive. These guys are really cool too. But their software does its sort of beautiful graphic interface, but it doesn't support pages yet, but he's going to add that soon. And yeah, but the support on Mars is really good. I think that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Dihan?
Did you say Byword?
Yeah, Byword. There's a few. No, Byword is just a text editor. So when I'm composing, I don't want to be looking at icons, unnecessary stuff. So it's just distraction-free writing. They're available for Linux. There's some for Linux. There's some for XP, and a couple for Mac.
And who's your host? I'm sorry.
Sorry, my host. I use a host called 247zilla.com.
So where's that?
They're in the States, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks.
How long did it take you to get your website up and running? Because you said, obviously your first iteration was you pilot, then your second one. How long did it take to get the second one?
Really, I had this once. The second one took about a day, really, because I just sit there. I just sit there. It's going to get done. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm going to be looking a little bit blurry because I've got contacts in. I don't normally wear contacts, and I've worn glasses since I was 16, and this is the first time I've ever had them, so you're all still a little bit blurry while I get used to things. So if I start going like that, yeah, it's because I need to see. Sorry, just a moment while Okay, cool. So yes, my name is Amelia, and I'm going to chat tonight about WordPress membership sites in terms of email marketing. So it's a little bit of a twist on the membership sites. So it's not about, someone coming into your site and you having all this content there. It's about marketing as well. So everyone can hear me okay? I don't need a microphone. I need to rock anything in my hands. If you need me to speak up a bit more. Okay. All right, so to start off, I'll just tell you a little bit about me, because some of you probably haven't met me before. During the day, I work as a web developer for a telecommunications company. And outside of that, I then work on WordPress sites, and specifically my own. I have my own own website. It's ameliabriscoe.com. Now, some people might say Smith in my last name. It's because I was a Smith for 38 years and I've been a Briscoe for now 3 months. So it's only been a recent thing, so it's still confusing for people. So that's my site. Anyone who attended WordCamp would have heard of a different site. I've done a bit of a rebranding, mostly because I'm doing talks like this now and I'm doing some collaborations elsewhere. So rather than being tied to a brand or other kind of name, I thought, well, I'd tie myself to me, which seems pretty cool. Speaking of collaborations, I've got a new website that I'm collaborating on at the moment. It's called Video Blog Basics. I'm going to give them a shameless plug. I'm doing this website with a couple of fabulous friends over in Canada. Is Ben Eadie and Chris Garrett. So if you are into video blogging, then please come by and say hello to the three of us, and hopefully we can help you out. So moving into the next slide, what I've got for you. Someone did that of me. I just smiled and then someone decided to have a go at it. So I'm going to talk about email marketing and as we see it today, what we see around on the internet. And the new concept that's going on at the moment is moving towards registration rather than opting in. So it's sort of aligned with the email marketing concept. Only yesterday I got asked by an internet marketer if I could help him set up a WordPress membership theme to sell to his members. So if internet marketers are picking up on this concept, it's obviously something to look out for. So if you're an early adopter, this is something that might give you a good leg up. So we'll talk about the free access model, which ties into the point before about creating a nice free space to bring your customers or visitors to. The tools you'll need to get started on, and we'll have a look at some ideas for creating content to separate your site from your membership area, which is kind of what we're talking about. And I'll give you a bit of an extra link, and yes, there is a slide of Nicki Minaj. I like to put in pop culture slides in, so be prepared. All right, so when people come to your site, hopefully they're coming to your site for the first time, and hopefully you've got content on your site that is aimed at the orientation phase. So people land on your site, they need to know more about you. Hopefully you're providing the right navigation for them to move around in, and hopefully you're providing the kind of content that helps them get to know you, what you do, what you're going to provide for them, and what kind of problem that you can solve. So as it says there, marketing is about having a conversation with people and solving their problems. They're looking around for you because they've got a problem they want to have solved, and hopefully you're the person that's going to provide for them. A couple of things that you want them to do on your site is firstly, hopefully they get their wallet out and their credit card and they purchase something from you, whether it be through an affiliate link, whether it be through a service that you provide or a product that you make. The second thing you might like them to do is to sign up to what's called an email list, and for those who might not be in the know, we'll go through that just in the next slide. So there's two ways that email marketing is done. So these might look a little bit familiar. So the first thing we've got is the sign up form there, which is from Aweber. So this is where people come to your site, they put their email address in, click on the submit button. You don't necessarily need to have the name field there, but I've just got there for just display purposes. And they go into what's called an auto responder content, where you send them emails over time. They give you permission to send those to them, and you're providing content over time through email in hopes that they will eventually purchase something from you or hire you or whatever it may be. The second thing you might see is the free incentive, and I've just got a free ebook listed there. So you put your email address, you click on the instant access, and you get some kind of free incentive. It could be a free ebook, could be some free videos, could be a free report, something where you have to part with an email address for you to be able to get something in return. These are good ways of being able to get people on your list and be able to have a relationship and be able to talk to them over time. The thing is that, here's Nicki Minaj, you have to create, nowadays, you need to create some content that's got higher perceived value. And the reason I'm talking about that is because the idea of free is not as valuable as it used to be. So, for instance, for me, I've downloaded a few free ebooks, they're still sitting in a folder unread. Okay, so yes, it's free, yes, it's great, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be valuable and that you're going to value it, or your customers are going to value what you've given away for free. The other thing is that free is becoming less trusted as well. Like I've shown you those slides before where you give away an email address, it's becoming a little bit less trusted. Yes, people think they're getting something for free, but they have to do it in return for an email address. So they know eventually that you are going to send them something, some kind of marketing sales copy in the form of an email, somewhere along the line. So people will tend to use an email address specifically for signing up to email lists, as well as getting the free content. The other thing is that the email box is getting overcrowded. I don't know too many people who are at inbox zero. I'm certainly not. I tend to receive a lot of emails and I file them away. I've got filters here, left, right and centre. And there's probably about 2 or 3 that I will tend to look at on a regular basis. Otherwise, they tend to get filed away for when I've possibly got some time, which is never. So the problem here is that how do you engage with people enough and interact with them enough for them to, for them to open up those emails? How do you become noticeable in that sea of emails in their inbox? So the idea is to create a private space on your site where you can engage with people. And this takes them out of the email inbox. Yes, you still send them emails, but this is, it's not sending them a blurb of text for them to read. This is, sending them a link, sending them to your website, providing a nice space where you can have a comfortable and quiet conversation with them. Obviously, if they're registering for a membership site and they're coming and visiting you, they want to hear from you and they want to learn more about you and what you have to offer. So this goes beyond the email message in order to sell what you do. So if we talk about some other kinds of marketing, we've got the social media marketing. So this is where you go onto a place like Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus and you talk about what you do. It's fairly busy, especially on Twitter. You might have a conversation with someone and then 5 seconds later, like, oh, shiny, I've got to go over here, and you've lost them. And it's not quite as much with Facebook, but definitely with Twitter. So you're kind of in this noisy street, this very crowded environment, and you're trying to talk to people and it becomes quite difficult. So kind of the same with email. As I said, like the inbox gets quite full, it's hard to get noticed, and so it's a little bit more quieter, but not so much. So the next idea is the access or membership area on your site. And that's a really nice quiet area. You can take people kind of off the street into the nice little quiet cafe into the corner and have a conversation with them, figure out what they want, what problems they need solved, and how you can provide that for them. So we start moving towards the idea of signing up for registration rather than opting in. So we're moving from the inbox to a space on your website and moving from the opt-in box to a registration. That's an example from copyblogger.com where you register for access to their membership site. Okay, and that's a free membership that you can sign up for. So the idea is to create, and you don't necessarily have to call it a membership site. A lot of people are dubbing it the content library. And this is where you can add valuable content that you want to give to your customers and visitors. So outside of the basic information that you would provide on your website. So it starts with free access. You don't have to go into a paid model straight away. But you can start with free, get people to come in and take a look around at your content, and then build it from there. So straight away, giving them somewhere quiet to go to, out of all the noise of the blog and the Twitter and everywhere like that, creates that instant value that they're going into this nice exclusive area where where you've got something to give them of value. So yes, we're creating a private space where people can engage with the content. The idea of the membership content is to drip it over time. And when I mean drip, it means that you don't give them everything all at once. You try and stagger it over time so that they keep coming back. There's a bit of interest on the menu, so to speak. So they keep coming back and they come and have a look at what you've got new. So the idea of then introducing the email marketing is that you then email your customers and your list that you've got something new on your site, they go and have a look and engage, and hopefully they look around more at your site, think, oh, I didn't see that before, and maybe they come closer to a buying purchase with you. Provides a strong motivation for people to open your emails as well, so it stands you out from the crowd, hopefully, and they pay attention to your emails. And the nice thing about it, I think, is a lot of people have a bit of trouble selling stuff, especially through emails. It kind of feels a little bit sleazy, a little bit snake oil. So this is, you're not selling them anything. All you're telling them to do is come and have a look at some content I've got over here. They go to your site and they have a nice look around. So you're not selling anything, you're just giving them some nice valued content. So examples, we've got the WP Beginner. They've got a video content library, so you can see there that you can assign first name, last name, your username, and a password, and you've got access to their free videos all at once. Copyblogger have been the big aggressor with regards to getting this done. They've got Scribe, which is an SEO software, but they have their own library where they give away some ebooks for free. So you can register for free, grab those ebooks, read them, and they are planning on doing more. They also have their own membership site, my.copyblogger.com, where you can register for free, or there is a paid model as well. And that's where you get access to the Copyblogger guys as well. So all of those guys are always on the forums there. You get access to webinars, you get access to video recordings, to podcasts, things like that. So they give away that extra value that you wouldn't see on their normal blog. They do a lot of guest posting on their blog, and you don't get that inside their membership area. You get them exclusively, which is really good. So how do we go about this? Firstly, you need self-hosted WordPress. So this won't work if you've got the free WordPress.com account. You'll also need a plugin. I'm not going to go through any themes that are specifically for membership or have membership integration. So you will need a plugin. There's two that I'm going to show you. One of them will work with multi-site. So if you are part of a multi-site network, which of course WordPress.com is one, even though you can't, upload themes and plugins to it, one of the plugins will be able to use on a multi-site installation. You will need to ask that network administrator to be able to upload it for you, though. That's probably the only thing. So I've got two plugins here. The first one is Membership, the WPMU Dev. Which they're quite reputable developers, and they've got their own free one, which you can get from the WordPress repository. There is a premium version of it. I think it costs $19. Now, I say per month meaning that if you want updates or upgrades, etc., or support, I think it costs a monthly basis to get that, but it's $19. I've had a little bit of a play around with that, and it seems to tick all the boxes. You're looking for things like being able to drip the content, as I spoke about before. You need to be able to set up subscription-based levels, different little access levels, so you might have a free version or a free level and a premium level, and you want to be able to protect your content, and not just from the public to the members, but also between different member levels. So you want to be able to have that ability to be able to give content to your premium members and content to your free members separately. So they're things you're looking for. There are a number of paid premium plugins that you can use. I'm just going to call out Premise because it's done by Copyblogger. They've got a good reputation, they've got solid code, and they're doing a lot more with it in the future. There is a price point of $165, but it's a once-off cost. You get lifetime upgrades and updates and really good support and really good content to go with it to help you. So there are two plugins there. And there are others available. I wanted to keep this fairly basic for newcomers. This is a user group. Other plugins do have the need to know a little bit of code. Okay, so I'm trying to keep it as simplistic as I can for you guys. Okay, so a little bit of content strategy. This is just me tossing up some ideas, so people might have some other ideas. But with your blog, membership sites, because they require access, can't be searched by Google. So they'll have if you're an SEO person, it will have no follow links against it. So Google won't be able to log into your site. So you need to still be able to keep Google along, keep the SEO juice happening, and keep them indexing you in their search engine results. So things that I thought of was like the easy to solve problems and FAQs, the orientation content. So when people land on your site, where do they go to? Are you providing good navigation? Are you got some big buttons on your site that says, if you're new, click here, if you want this, click here, things like that. So orientation content and easy to solve problems. Content teasers. So you may have an interview series and you might want to show maybe just a part of it, the nice cool bits, or whatever, and you leave the rest of the interview for your membership site. So you say, if you want to see the rest of this, head on over to the membership site, grab access, and see the rest of it. You can clear up some misconceptions if your site is about a particular product or a particular idea. You might want to clear up some misconceptions as well. That's really good beginner content for customers coming your way. Showing them part of your product or service in action. So you might have, this is really great for affiliate marketing, for affiliate products. Take them through the absolute basics of the product and then do the real in-depth stuff in your membership site. Explaining something that they might not know about, so providing some intrigue. So they might have an understanding of some of the concepts, but there might be a couple of little tips and tricks that they don't know about, and they go, I didn't know that. That's a really good idea for the blog as well. And that's good content that's valuable that people can take away with them, and Google absolutely loves you for it if you provide that kind of content. So for membership sites, delve deeper into some of the concepts that you go through on your blog or on your general public kind of area. E-courses to learn further. So I do lots of video e-courses, so things like that. Access to you, webinars, seminars, masterclasses, group coaching, coaching one-on-one, things like that. Extra access to you is something you can promote in your membership area, obviously for a price. Don't want to do it too much for free. Ebooks and reports is probably another thing you can add to your membership site. And like I said before, you can lead to complete series of articles. You can lead to the rest of the interviews. So enticing them to sign up for that membership. So I've actually got a video series on Premise, setting up with Premise. If you're interested in purchasing Premise or you have it and you don't quite know how to use it, you can always just go to ameliabriscoe.com, and on the main page, there's a big circle with Premise tutorials. You can just click on that, it'll take you to that, and it'll show you just the basics of setting up a membership site with Premise. So I'll just get you going. I'm going to go in depth with it. That's on my membership site, so see what I did there? So I'll go for questions if anyone's got any, but what I might do firstly, I'll go to there. I'll show you what I've got set up, and this is just very recent. So this is my library, and it is brand new. When I say brand new, probably about a week old. And if you've gone to Copy Bloggers membership, things might look a little bit familiar because I like to figure out how people do cool stuff, and I do it for my own sites. So that's why I've got a couple of little things hidden in there. Just down below, I've just got like an excerpt of some e-courses that I've got available. I'm a thesis chick as well. Thesis and Genesis are my two faves. But if I go into the thesis blank there, we'll say that I've got to log in to view this content, okay? So that's how it looks to people who come across my site who haven't logged in. Obviously, there's that button there for people to go and register. But I'll log in just to show you what it looks like. And this will redirect me back to the home page, but as a logged in member. And so you'll see that message is now changed to my funky little avatar. And I've got some notices below, and that's just a widget. That's just a widget area that I've got a statement that says if they're logged in, they see it. If they're not, they don't. So now if I go to my thesis blank area, it now shows me the rest of it. And I've got another plugin that I use to create the courses. It's called WP Courseware if anyone's interested. And it allows you to create units and modules, which is a nice little drag and drop feature in the WordPress dashboard. And they, obviously with the green ticks, they have to complete modules before they can move to the next one. So it allows me to drip that content so people can't just come in, grab what they want and go away. They have to go through and click a button before they can get to the next one. So I'll just show you what it looks like. I do video tutorials. So I have the video on top with all the text underneath, and then they would need to go to the next unit, and they need to do a click there. I had to get it working with Premise, so I had to hack a few things to get it working with Premise. So yeah, they're kind of things that I do. So yeah, that's my membership site. Yeah. So are there any questions?
Is it possible to provide someone who comes to your site with, say, a key?
Like an API?
Well, yeah, just like a number, say like you're authorised to access this, put this number in somewhere, you can get the content. Is that, how would you go about doing something along those lines?
So where they would need to put in a custom code for them to then like to unlock it. I'm sure there's plugins that are available to. I've seen things similar with clicking a like button and suddenly it unlocks things. I'm sure there's a plugin somewhere. It's not something that I've done to be able to give you a definitive answer. You can certainly play around with when people sign up for membership, they're logged in as a user. You can then upgrade their access level and they could then see other kinds of content. But if you're looking to unlock content with a code, you probably need to source out a plugin for that possibly. Does that answer the question?
Yep.
Okay.
Unanswerable question maybe, but what's great content, do you think? Like, what's your theory about what's fantastic content that people need to read?
I think great content is where you provide information for someone that they can take away there and then without giving away the farm. So it's like I said, answer those easy to solve questions, but provide that little bit of a question mark where they would want to possibly come back and ask more of you or search around a bit more. That's my idea of great content. Providing something to them that's useful that they can go away and do straight away. Yeah? Hey.
Obviously, a lot of effort's gone into this. I'm just curious, what's the benefit for you now in doing this? Does this provide work for you?
Okay, with me personally, I'm probably a bit unique that I don't want to be a freelance developer or anything like that. I actually want to be coaching, training, teaching, consulting, things like that. So the benefit for me is that on my main site is that's where I offer the basics for people to train through, and if they then want to go in deeper, that's where they would do it. So plans for this site specifically, new version of Thesis coming out, which I need to start doing videos for, so I'm going to be doing that. There's not a lot of documentation about Thesis, so I capture the market there. Genesis as well, I want to start getting into that and doing more about how to set up membership sites. I do plan on doing videos on that other membership plugin that I talked about, as well as how I created all of this. I want to show people how I did it because I've had some curious questions.
So, and how quickly was this in terms of getting people to sign up?
It's, like I said, it's only like a week old, but the awesome guys at Copyblogger have already plugged me a few times, so I've had people come to my site and look around and sign up. So I go into my user area on the dashboard and you take a quick look and go, okay, there's a couple more sign-ups, yay. So, yeah, it is working, but with the help of some nice kudos from some reputable people. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I was curious because I've done a lot of AdWords and that kind of thing, and I'm wondering if this could be an effective strategy for that, where you're trying to get the details, often you don't get them, and really pushing hard at the beginning to try and get contact information, but possibly this is another strategy you can use, which is not as in your face.
Yeah. And it could be used for anything. I mean, yes, I'm using it for doing tutorials, but you could use that space for anything. Depends on what kind of audience you've got, what kind of, what they want. So it's just a space for you to engage with your customers. Yeah. That's it. Oh, sorry, yes.
When you say you had to hack WP Courseware, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, that's a nice one.
Yeah.
Having a look at. When you said you had to hack it to make it work with premise.
With the Premise membership site, they create their own specific user role. I hope if I get geeky, just tell me, okay? Excellent, awesome. They create their own user role, and what I found was at the end of each module, it had that little button that says, click to complete, and it uses the it's in the admin folder where it ajaxes all the pages through. And it was refreshing the page, but for some reason the user role didn't have any role capabilities, so it was returning a false result. So it was actually displaying the page within a page. So I had to add a capability to the Premise member role. So I had to do a quick little plugin. The other thing was that its ability to hide member content. There's a little meta box that sits within the post and page editor, and that wasn't there, so I had to hook into the Premise class to add that into there so I could hide it. So that's what I mean by hacking into it. It wasn't too sinister or anything like that. Yes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm happy to share that plugin. It was a small little plugin, and I'm quite happy to share it if you want it. Yeah. Oh.
I've worked with some plugins that do user capabilities against roles. So
okay. Yeah, if you want this little snippet of code, it's like a small little file. I'm quite happy to share it with you. Yeah. Hi.
I do find that all the plugins that you've needed to use all work with the theme that you've chosen.
Yes. I develop on a local server, like on my Mac here. I have my own local server, and I make sure everything works before I transfer it over to a live environment. So it shouldn't be breaking at all. Yeah. But I don't use many plugins. I'm a believer in having less than a dozen plugins, and I really do have less than a dozen plugins. So.
What theme are you using?
Genesis and the 1140 theme. So I've just tweaked the 1140 theme with a few things, and I've added a few custom functions to add things like the login button there, to add things like that member there, and that little message as well. It's using like an if-else statement, and specifically that is user plugged in, is user logged in. So specifically that. Cool. I get to be geeky.